Let's get this party started. Give things a couple minutes to see if folks are going to show up, but I'm going to go ahead and go to menu. Right, well, we are live, and this is my first ever real live stream, so I hope that there are at least a couple people here. Feel free to say hi in chat, and yes, I will see it. I'm going to be starting a new game of this, and I hope you're gonna like it, because I think it's pretty freaking cool. Hi there. I'm glad you're here. Alright. I'm gonna give us maybe one more minute before I dive in, just to see if more folks show. And, yeah. The Forgotten City. It's a pretty cool game. It started out as a Skyrim mod, actually, which I think is pretty neat. The team, I'm told, is 3 developers who made the Skyrim mod and then adjusted it with the help of 3 scholarly consultants on the ancient world, which makes it pretty much my ideal game. Well, that and the fact that there's almost no combat in here. Okay, let's get going. If folks show up late, they can catch this when it is uploaded to my YouTube channel. Yeah. I really love this style of game where it's just focused on the story. Welcome to the banks of the river.
Hey, you're alive. When I dragged you out of the river, I thought you were never gonna wake up. I checked your pockets for ID, a phone, maybe. I hope you don't mind. But all I found was some loose change. So,
yeah, keep that in mind.
Wanna tell me who you are?
So, loose change, she says, and here is our only real bit of character selection. Body type, not gender. But we do have male presenting and female presenting, and these are real coins. I looked them up. This one is a coin from the early period of Nero, so that's actually Nero himself as a young man. Most depictions of Nero have him a little bit heftier and with this kind of ungodly chin beard. But here we see him as a young man, clean-shaven and quite skinny. You can almost make out his name along the edge of the coin. And then this coin is actually Antonia. She was a few generations earlier than Nero, although married to someone also named Nero, so very closely related, of the imperial family. She was... this coin is actually, in real life, it's a gold coin, not a silver coin, but think they wanted to go for the consistency, and her hairstyle looks very much more like a modern hairstyle than a lot of the other ones. Although you can see that lovely laurel wreath, probably. So she was the mother of Germanicus, if you are familiar with that branch of the Julio-Claudians. So I'm gonna stick with female presenting for now. They give us a nice range of colors. The thing I love most about this range of colors in the character select is that all of these are skin tones you will see in the game, despite most of the characters being Roman, and we often think of Romans as being, you know, more of these two. But that's not true. I mean, the Romans were incredibly diverse, especially after they started conquering places, but they were diverse even before that. So really any of these is appropriate for a Roman game. Just out of a sense of realism, I'm going to go with my skin tone, or the closest I can get to it, because even that's not quite pale enough. We'll go ahead and stick with Zilla, which is, by the way, a Hebrew name, so totally plausible to have in the Roman world.
Well, it's nice to meet you. And I'm sorry to pry, but any idea why you were floating down the river? What's the last thing you remember?
It's very nice of you to ask. Don't mind the character facial animations. They don't really get any better, but you do get used to it. I have a soft spot for games that prioritize story and character over animation flair. So we have our options. We can be an archaeologist, can be a soldier, can be a fugitive, or an amnesiac. And they do give you different things in-game, but I can't rightly choose anything but the archaeologist. I mean, first of all, it gives you a lot of information in the game that you don't otherwise get, but second of all, it's just, if I get an archaeology option, you know I'm taking it.
Oh, you're an archaeologist? Then you'll definitely want to hear this. I don't know if it's exactly what you're looking for, but there are some ruins just behind you. Roman, I think. I need you to go in there and see if you can find a guy named Al for me. He went in there a few hours ago, and he hasn't come out. I've been freaking out, wondering if he's trapped, or injured, or worse. I would have gone in after him, but he made me promise to stay here, no matter what. There's no way I'm leaving without him, so I'm just kind of stuck here, waiting. What I mean is, I was hoping you wouldn't mind going in there to find him. If you can do that, I can get both of you back to civilization in my boat. Please?
Ah, the mysterious Al. I have no idea who Al is supposed to be. He might just be some guy, you know?
Oh, of course. Sorry, I don't mean to be pushy. I just... What do you want to know?
That I don't mean to be pushy line. God, it hits straight to the core, right? Only hear that from a woman. Alright, so what's your story, stranger?
There's not much to tell. Feels like I've spent my whole life in a dead-end job with an endless commute. Know what I mean?
Yeah, hear that. What is your name?
Oh, I'd rather not say if it's all the same to you.
I mean, why not, right?
Alright, fine. Sorry if I sounded cagey, it's just that I don't always get the best reactions when I introduce myself. My name's Karen.
All those Karen memes, right? Nobody wants to be named Karen anymore. All the actual Karens I know don't care. They think it's hilarious. So, let's be nice, shall we?
You're welcome. Always happy to help. Was there anything else you wanted to ask?
So who is Al?
He's the guy who washed up on the riverbank not long before you did. I thought maybe you two knew each other. I guess not. But maybe the two of you can piece together what you're doing here. In any case, you'll like him, I'm sure. Once you find him, that is.
Why are you so sure of that? You don't know me. Where is this place,
You
anyway?
really don't remember? We're in Italy. This river is the Tiber.
Runs right through Rome.
Not much, really. But imagine what you might find in there. Priceless ancient artifacts. Al...
A little bit fixated, eh?
What am I, an idiot? You could hike a long, long way in any direction and never find another soul. Trust me.
If anybody in the chat happens to know if there are places on the modern Tiber where you can walk miles in any direction and not find anyone, I would really like to know. I mean, I don't focus on Italy myself, so this one's a bit of a mystery to me.
Great.
That
So
is
you're ready to go
definitely
look
not
for
all the
Al?
questions I have. So, we could be a bit of a jerk. We could be a real jerk. But no. I'm gonna go find
Thank
Al.
you. The entrance is just past those columns behind you.
The question is,
Please, hurry.
can I call you
Oh,
Betty?
and he left this here. But I think you'll need it more than I will.
Nice. A flashlight. It sure is a flashlight. Nice modern torch. Okay. Oh, now we can walk around. We can jump. One of the few times you can see your arms. There are a lot of invisible walls in this game. They didn't really let you run off the rails too far, which is probably for the best. So we have this spooky river. Oh yeah, I can raise my flashlight. For all the good it really does me out here. So, the Tiber. Somewhere away from civilization, apparently. And then we have these ruins that start. These nice sort of plain column heads here. The fluted column, but rather unstyled tops. And these marvelously beautiful steps. I mean, it's not uncommon to find steps that are this well maintained under ruins, but usually it's either because they are under human maintenance or because they've been covered up. A lot of times plants will just, especially with trees this close, you'd expect it to be more cracked up. Which isn't to say there's no damage, although I do want to make note, we had those plain column heads before, and now we have these beautiful palm frond, sort of sort of Corinthian things, a nice carved arch. So, the modern torch. A lit torch. Must have been lit by Al. Yeah, we'll go with that. Oh. More of the sort of plain columns. Definitely sort of a natural cave structure here, right? But also carved. Like, it looks like it's been quarried, if nothing else. Eee, I can sprint. Okay, so getting to some nice construction that you might see in Rome in the modern day, but you equally see it in ruins, for sure. Held up pretty well. Those bricks are definitely not rounded enough to have been exposed for very long, but the lichen covering these blocks is really quite something. So, here we go. Don't trust ancient bridges, folks. I mean, this could fall away at any minute, but what choice do I have? Something I'm wondering, like, I don't know if these lines are artifacts of the programming or if it's meant to imply that there used to be more of a substructure here. Tiled walkway, broken up. Lower my flashlight. I guess I could. Doesn't make a huge difference out here, really. Can't quite make out what that emblem is. It almost... Maybe I can zoom in. I know one of these buttons zooms. I think that's 3 dog heads. And that's going to be a mark of Cerberus. So, the underworld. This temple must have something to do with the underworld. Let's look around. This is nice. Well, we've got yet another type of column head. Even more sort of Corinthian floral, or, well, foliage anyway. It's actually kind of harder to see with the light on it. So a lot of different kinds of architecture, but all of it very sort of precisely placed. Hey, what's this? We got a backpack. Full of worn hiking clothes and empty food packets. Seems strange Al left it behind. We can look at it, but we also have to leave it behind. There's no option for take. And then there's a note on the door.
If you're reading this, it means I've discovered the entrance to an ancient Roman city hidden deep underground. Its existence is long forgotten, all knowledge of it lost, except in the Latin inscription here. It reads, "You who wish to enter the city, step forth and be judged. The virtuous shall be rewarded with eternal life in paradise. The wicked
Hi, thanks.
shall find themselves showered in gold, but in vain. For this shall be their final resting place."
I'm glad you could make it.
Could an underground city have remained a
Thanks for
secret
looking that up
for
about
all
the
this
Tiber,
time?
Benjamin.
The
That's,
people have
that's
survived
really
down
interesting.
there, against the odds. It seems there's only one way to find out. If I'm not back in an hour, I'm somewhere on the other side. Consider this an invitation, or a warning.
Well, it's,
Alworth.
Alworth. Still don't know who you are. So that's definitely an invitation or a warning, right? He's not back. It's clearly been more than an hour, if Karen was that worried. So, let's have a look. Now this mosaic here is a real mosaic, as most of them in this game are. I looked it up, and it is a Tunisian image of Poseidon's chariot, which, you know, that would have been my first guess given the water with sort of the 4 horses and a god at the top. Well, why there's an image of Poseidon in a temple dedicated to the underworld, I'm not quite clear, but okay. Getting some mixed things here. We've got a statue. An ancient Roman statue of an unknown man in an inscrutable pose. One hand seems raised in welcome, the other warns. What is this, Al? We can look at the golden carafe. Permanently fixed in place. Really? It doesn't look like it would be, but alright then. We can take a look at the Latin plaque. It repeats to us the translation that Al gave. Now, interestingly, as far as I can tell, all of the Latin in this place, in this whole game, is actually correct. So we've got Veni judicare volent orbem intrare honesti vita aeterna in paradiso. I can't quite read that. Arbitrari, maybe? Arbituri. Impi auro teguntur sed ibi sine something requiescent. So that basically translates to exactly what they said. So, if you go within, the use of spaces, probably not, actually. That's a good point. That would be more likely to be carved without spaces entirely. But it's not unheard of to see something this sort of grand might have been written with that little embellishment, because as you see, they're not just spaces, they have little markers between them. So perhaps is the real answer to that question. But you're right to point it out. I like these domed ceilings too. The style is very much that of the Pantheon in Rome, with the paneled dome and the center carved out into a circle, so that in the daytime light would shine on presumably the space where you would stand. Now, if you know anything about this game, you know there's a reason I've been walking around the side, because as soon as we go up here, whoosh! Entrance to the underworld indeed. And now, we have miraculously landed in water. So that little icon you can see in the lower left there is my air. Well, I found my way to the ancient city. Sure did. There's that shaft I just fell down. But, things are a bit different down here. So, first of all, I would not want to be in this water if it's been sitting here like this. Whether it's a Roman bath for real or not. Roman baths are sort of notoriously nasty water. But here we have yet another style of column head, with the unfluted, the just plain marble columns with... yeah, exactly, right? So, loose change in your pockets, and you gotta pick a coin. And then you come to a temple with Cerberus on it. We shall see. So these column heads are yet another style. Blanking on which one it is right now. And then the whole ceiling seems like this whole place seems to be made of marble and gold and marble and gold, and then these beautiful plastered and painted walls that have clearly been faded, and a lot of tumble down bits. You can see that the plaster is not over more marble, it's over brick construction, and that's very typical, I think. So, you know, you have this image of how things are supposed to look, and then how they are underneath. And by the way, you've also got these plain stone ceiling tiles that are clearly gilded over in the more intact places. So, not quite as much gold as you might think, but still quite a lot. So, there's a lot of space here, a lot of unlit torches. I guess Al didn't light these ones. And then, oh, what's that? Spooky golden statue. Is there a statue in the other corner? There's a statue in the other corner. I would bet there's one in each. They don't appear to be all the same. They're definitely all people. I wonder if it tells us anything about the pots. No? Okay, so these kind of amphorae could have contained almost anything, but here they were likely to have contained olive oil and perfumes for bathing. Oh, another plaque. So let's see what it says. Pro peccata unius multis dolebunt. So the translation of that would probably be something like, for the, for the mistakes of one, many will mourn. But they're going to translate it a little bit differently. The many shall suffer for the sins of the one. And you're going to hear this a lot. So one thing I did want to point out is that sin is a very non-Greco-Roman concept in terms of ancient religion. That's something you get more when you start getting monotheism, and specifically Christianity, which, is not ridiculous, but... Oh hey, we got some graffiti. That actually looks pretty good for graffiti. We see a lot of graffiti. This would definitely not have spacing like it does here. They did not bother with that. But if you see graffiti from like Pompeii, it does kind of look like this, with little drawings and everything. So, meminisse semper vigilebant. So, remember, they're always watching. And these two little fighter images. Always remember they're watching. So yeah, pretty much. Oh, more of these statues. Hello. Quite a lot of you. There are a lot of different poses lining the halls. I do love these tripods. These tripods are just right. Very common in both Greek and Roman antiquity. Ooh, we have a mysterious whisper. Who are you? Who are you? But back to the tripod. Because that's what we're here for, right? So they have these lovely little lion heads on the legs, and a jointed base structure. Now, I'm not sure that I've seen a jointed base structure quite like this on an ancient tripod, but it's certainly not out of the question. But the lion head motif is very common. But tripods were frequently used as gifts to holy places. You would see a lot of them as donations to the Temple of Apollo in Delphi and such like. Very simple vases given the architectural style. A lot of different body types, some of them, and very dramatic posing. Oh, a little bench. Nice marble bench. A friend of mine has one just like this outside their pool. Yes, you do see these kind of carved marble benches as well. Got more statues, more gilded roofs, kneeling, praying. Ah, yes. And so we've got another mosaic here. I know this one is also real, but I did not have a chance to look it up. Did anybody in chat happen to know which one this is? I think it's from Tunisia. A lot of these are. In any case, the one detail that they have changed about this mosaic is that one of the figures has turned to gold. So, when we inspect the mosaic, an ancient Roman mosaic depicting a godlike figure turning a man to gold. And we also have these whispers going. Why are you here? Well, actually, let me inspect a statue. A young Roman woman in a pose of lamentation. And we have our, for the sins of the one, the many shall weep again. And certainly he was. Toppled tripods. The, baths still seem in order, though. So, one thing I think is really interesting... Like, look how easily that moves. That is not a solid gold statue. I think they might also be gilded. And hollow at that. Gold is heavy. We've got more destruction. A Roman gladiator. Notice the helmet. Mid-stride. What could have made a gladiator flee? We've got a nice relief up here. I also don't know precisely where this one comes from. It's a very Roman figure in the middle. I believe that he's being flanked by horses that are being attacked by lions, just based on that curling mane you see on the one that's slightly more to the right. Not clear on what the rest of these figures are doing, so it's kind of hard to identify. And he seems to be flanked by these sort of plant patterns that remind me of Silphium, which is a now extinct, but then rare and highly medicinal plant that they used for all sorts of things, everything from purgatives to aphrodisiacs to abortifacients. Just everything. So, I think that's what we've got there. And it's thought that the Silphium leaves are what spawned our modern figurative heart shape, you know, the double sort of lobed thing. So, more statues, less decoration here, and here we are finally at a loading screen, so something is about to change. Looks like we are finally coming to the outer part of these baths. So many statues. That whisper keeps coming back. Can you hear me? Honestly, barely. Like, barely at all. You think Al lit all these tripods? Ooh, this one's empty. I wonder where they went. Is it you? Looks like she was begging for her life. So, again with the fluted Corinthian top columns. A lot of people in here. And what appears to be a cave. A giant cave. Here is the front of the baths building. We've got people all over the place. Can I inspect this one? No, that one's all done. Here you see the cobbled Roman roads would have been flatter when they were first laid, but this is pretty true to how Roman roads work, including this little crosswalk here with the raised stones going in a path across. And they make space for the wheels of a cart to go through. And then we get the plain columns again, supporting a more elaborate frieze, and sometimes you'll see this leading into a building or surrounding a courtyard, which this appears to be. Roman military commander. Interesting that it's all people, right? Interesting indeed. A legionary. All sorts of people in here. Now, it makes sense for things in here to be a little bit better preserved, since they're away from weather. Still pretty amazingly intact. Oh, check out that aqueduct. That is pretty classic. Those nice arches, and the top will be carrying fresh water. And nothing to say? Okay. Still wouldn't trust this bridge. Not in real life. Look at this cavern. That is sort of impossibly big. And there's our freshwater source. Yeah, if you're a golden statue, of course you can't move. Thanks, Whisper. Yeah. So I do want to pause here and give a trigger warning, because I do happen to know, I played a little bit ahead in this, and I do happen to know that there is some depiction of suicide coming up, so if that is a big trigger for you, maybe take a couple minutes break. This game does talk a lot about sort of death and suicide, so just know that, be cautious. Okay, I'm going in. Well, he appears to be in modern clothes, so I'm gonna guess that this is Al. Golden statue of an old man wearing modern clothing? This must be Al, but how is that possible? Even the rope is turned to gold. And here we have a little lion foot brazier. Match our lion head tripods. And, oh, even this little Roman lamp is burning. We've actually seen those before, these little Roman lamps. I didn't point them out earlier. But, anytime you see something that's shaped more or less like that, where it's, you know, kind of got a little handle, and then there's like a hole on the other end, and then some air holes. That's usually some kind of lantern.
To whoever reads this, I'm sorry you had to find me like this. And worse, you'll suffer the same fate I did. I've spent a lifetime in this place, going around and around in circles, searching for a way out. The inscription was right. There is no way back. In here, there are only two options. Death, and that godforsaken doorway into the past. I made the mistake of stepping through it. I wanted to set things right. And I tried. I really tried. Whatever I did, it took me right back to the beginning. Don't make the same mistake. Better to end it all now, and find out what awaits you beyond that portal.
So that sets up some interesting stuff. First of all, yipes. I guess this is not a great situation we have landed ourselves in. Second of all, there is time travel here in a sort of Groundhog Day fashion. Sounds kind of frightening. And third, that, you know, whatever is going on here, it is not clear what to do. And it would be easy to despair. But we are intrepid travelers, and refuse to give in to despair, which is to say we know we're playing a video game, so even as scary as that sounds, no thanks, there's gotta be a reason. Another... Ooh, the Whisper needs my help? Well, you could tell me about that. Oh, here we have what looks to be another temple. The icons are less descriptive. There's no Cerberus head here to guide us. But this appears to be a pretty sprawling temple complex of some kind. So here we have, you know, some more floor mosaics, a little bit less representative, and one thing... Oh, I'm so close now. One thing that you'll notice is that they've also put them on the ceilings in some places, and that is not very common. I don't know if it never happens, but usually Roman mosaics are on the floor. Floor mosaics, fresco walls. That's... Oof. Can't really see out this, this wall very well, but, sprawling... How are those trees alive down here, anyway? Well, that's as far as we can go this way, so... Out here we go. So close now. Are we, in fact, so close? It says we've found the doorway to... Oh, well, that would be why. Hello, Stargate, or generic wormhole thingy. And, ooh. After all of those golden statues, it's a little surprising to find the skeleton. Whoever it was died a long, long time ago. Well, let's look around this way before we take our wormhole. We've got some poor schlub on his knees. Not much further, indeed. Another lit lamp. But it looks like our progress is halted by this collapse of stone. So close now indeed. In to the wormhole, I think we must go. You see, at least we can take a look around and see that the construction of this temple is very similar to the last one. Anybody who has watched Stargate or played LucasArts The Dig, this is a very familiar moment. Through the wormhole, lovely little music, loading the next bit. Alright, here we are. Same temple. A little less decrepit. And hey, it's light out there. Still a human figure out there, and these plants now have pots. Or pots now have plants. Words, I can say them. So we've got this lovely relief. Roman relief depicting a great circular portal and two women. I wonder who they could be. A great circular portal, you say? Alright, so we've got two women here. One looking slightly older, one slightly younger. And here on the table we have two lamps lit, and what's this? A bowl of pomegranates. I wonder who they could be. It's not that big a mystery. You're going to find out soon that this is Proserpina and Charis, or Persephone and Demeter. And if you've been following my videos, you know I have a great fondness and know a lot of things about Persephone, so near and dear to my heart. We are in a very minor, it seems, temple to Persephone. Proserpina, sorry. Oh! Dude Face isn't a statue anymore. How about that? It appears we are in the past. All that rubble is gone. Well, not all of it. But there's ivy instead of lichen. Well, there's still some lichen. The buildings appear to be more solid, and our friend here is alive.
Salve, friend. I'm Galerius. Mind telling me who you are and what you were doing in the Shrine of Proserpina?
Like I said, not a big mystery. So, I came from the future.
No idea what you're talking about. Oh, wait. Are you a bit, not right in the head?
I don't actually know that they would
Everyone's
use
welcome
this symbol. That is not something I have ever encountered in ancient world stuff, but if anybody's more of a Roman historian here and happens to know, Daniel, if you're still with us, maybe you can answer that. So what's today's
We
date?
sort of lose track of the date down here, but it feels like the beginning of spring to me, so I'd say early March?
Cool, man. Early March. Well, spring is Proserpina's season.
It's 817 AUC. Sorry, you look confused. 817 years since the founding of Rome. Which part of the Empire are you from, exactly?
So, we can choose the sort of modern, Christocentric version. We can use the archaeologist's insight, because if you are a student of the ancient world, you would hopefully give the date more or less this way in modern day, but you can sort of figure it out based on the math. So it's around 65 CE, so but that's going to make no sense to Galerius, right? So that's fun. But one of the things I really like about this is, it does give us a very particular Roman time, and we're going to see this a lot more as we talk to other characters, when they talk about Christians, when they talk about fires, and, emperors and parts of the empire. So that's very interesting. I'm going to go ahead and say that.
CE? No idea what you're talking about. But listen, most folks seem a bit confused when they get here, but you seem very lost, and in more ways than one. So let me make this nice and simple for you. Live by our law here, and we'll all get along just fine.
Yeah, so that sounds a little intimidating, but he looks frightened, and I think that's probably pretty appropriate.
Not laws, law. There's just one, the golden rule, and the punishment for breaking it's kind of horrific. But our magistrate insists
That gesture,
we
I
take all
believe they
newcomers
used.
to see him, so I guess I'll let him fill you in. So then, you coming?
Yeah, sure. Lead on.
When I first arrived, I couldn't believe there were people living down here. But, as you can see, we've got a nice little community now. Only 23 of us at the moment, if you count the 3 who are missing. No idea how, since nobody knows a way out. But it's just big and dark enough to get lost in, if you're not careful.
Hello, other
Aren't
person.
you going to introduce me to your pretty new friend, Galerius?
Keep it in your loincloth, Aurelia. I'm taking her to see the magistrate.
That pompous old bore won't be magistrate for much longer. Anyone who helps vote him out today drinks at my bar for free tonight.
Wow. Politics.
Politics. I'd stay clear of it, and her, if I were you. She's... it's not my place to say.
You notice how
Down on
the
your right is our farm, where I grow all the
assumption
food you'll ever
is
want.
that she calls
As long
me
as all
pretty,
you
so
want
she
is
wants in
leek,
my
cabbage,
pants.
and wheat. Huh,
So
that one usually gets a chuckle.
that's
The
one.
bloodless shadows wander without flesh or bone.
Don't mind Lydia.
Spooky.
She means well. She's just been in a bad place since... Well,
Huh, more
I
graffiti.
don't know what happened to her.
Nequid furantur noli nocere noli. Don't steal anything. Don't hurt anyone. Don't... whatever. Graffiti's okay, though.
Up here on your right is the chasm. If you've got a weapon, it belongs way down at the bottom. Up on your left is the Forum, where you can visit the market or get yourself patched up in Lucretia's clinic in the Shrine of Apollo. Most of us have almost nothing, just what we had on us when we arrived, and what we've been able to make and scrounge up since. And this central plateau is where the Magistrate and the other Patricians live, so don't expect a warm welcome.
Hilarious. You're meant to be working the farm, not trudging dirt into the villas.
Take it easy, Horatius. I was just taking our new friend here to see the Magistrate.
Well, he's asked me to escort the newcomer personally. The farm. Go. Now.
You'd better go with him.
Bit of class consciousness there, eh?
They're not like you and me. Don't let them use you.
What was that? What did you just say?
I said it'll take some getting used to.
Yeah, I'm watching you, farm boy. Greetings, citizen. My name's Horatius.
I'm not a citizen.
Magistrate Sentius asked me to escort you to him personally. Follow me, please.
What is this about?
I expect the magistrate wants to brief you about the Golden Rule. It shouldn't take too long.
You sin, you die. I got that.
Election later today.
Alright,
Follow me.
let's go.
The only thing you really need to understand right now is the Golden Rule. Let me see if I can explain it this way. When I was serving in the Legion, if there was a mutiny brewing in one cohort, the legate in charge wouldn't waste time finding the bad apples among hundreds. They just divided us into groups of 10, made us draw straws, and whoever drew the short straw had to be executed by the other 9. Didn't matter whether he'd done anything wrong. One of us in 10 would die for the crimes of the collective. We call it decimation. If that seems like rough justice to you, you're in for a rude shock. Because the Golden Rule is exactly 10 times worse. The Magistrate can explain the rest. He's up these stairs.
So yeah, that is actually how decimation works. That is where we get our word to decimate, and we do not use it correctly generally. 23 people live in the city, and they have a magistrate, a market, and a bar. Yeah, they even have a clothing shop and like a mason's shop. Why am I here? Good question. If anybody happens to know the origin of this frieze, I was looking for it and didn't see it. It looks to me like that's clearly a Roman figure, and he appears to be leading this woman unwilling away from her maids, so I'm guessing that it's the rape of Lucretia, maybe, but I didn't find it. But yeah, this is pretty elaborate for just 23 people, and 3 of whom are missing, right? And they're gonna have a vote with multiple candidates for who gets to be magistrate. So this is a hecking palace, right? And we've got our gilt roof, our Pompeian red walls with the beautiful little white figurines painted in, which is a style you will definitely see in Pompeii, should you go there. I like that they just, keep the statues around, just 'cause. But they also have, artworks and these beautiful dark marble columns. So this is probably pretty close to what it would look like in a Roman palace of the time. Although this is the funniest thing to me. These little sort of modern bathroom stall small tile mosaics. I think that those are pretty unrealistic. I've never seen anything like that in an ancient site. But these gardens, they're set up like ancient gardens with the potted trees. We've got these beautiful little mosaics, some of them pretty basic and some much more elaborate. This one is Orpheus charming the animals. I'm getting messages that some of the Twitch messages aren't showing up, so if I haven't responded to you in my words, that's probably a sign that I am not actually seeing your messages. Sorry about that, and thank you for letting me know. I do not know anything about how Twitch regulates that. If you have another way of contacting me that I am responding to, feel free to go ahead and message me there and I will try to read it out. I have wanted to check. I think these plants are all native plants. Certainly these cypress trees. Very common. This... I mean, it looks to me like an orange tree, but it's not in fruit, and a lot of other things are, so I'm not sure. These nice pewter ewers and little water trough. So this is all, as far as I can tell, fairly accurate. Just really enjoyable. Oh, and here we have these sort of reclining couches. These are, as she's using them, pretty standard furniture style. They would eat lying in these, and it was, you're supposed to lie on your left side and eat with your right hand.
Whatever are you wearing?
Ah, yes. Here we have the Patrician Snob. Shall we talk to her? Let's talk to her.
Oh, I wish Horatius would stop letting barbarians in here. What do you want? I'm Sentia, eldest daughter of the magistrate. But you'd know that if you'd been invited in here and introduced properly. What are you doing in here? And why are you dressed like that?
I mean, it's a fair question.
Really? I'd never have noticed, what with your flawless accent, appropriate attire, and impressive mastery of our customs.
She is just full
now,
of sauce.
Remind me, why are we having this conversation?
Yeah, maybe now's
I
not
trust
the
you
time.
can see yourself out.
One thing, so here's some pretty standard Roman foods that we know that they had. Note that the carrots are purple, not orange. One thing I love is we have these sort of traditional Roman loaf breads with this pattern in them. We actually have an entire bread loaf like this carbonized from Pompeii. I think one of my friends was crocheting some in this style, and I kind of want one. But okay, let's actually go talk to the magistrates, shall we? Hello.
We're finally alone. I assume you already know who I am. May I know your name?
Yo.
A curious name to match a curious accent. But I digress. I see you have the piercing and astute eyes of Athena. You must be a woman of great learning.
I do like that they adjust the text to your gender, to your chosen presentation.
Equitia will be delighted to meet you, I'm sure. Now, you're probably wondering why I summoned you, and I'll get to that. But first, take a look at this wondrous place, would you? A secret city built deep in the mountains, many hundreds of years ago.
It is beautiful.
Indeed.
Can't deny that.
More importantly, consider the miraculous community we've built here over the last 7 months.
Yeah, I have no idea why you're not
22
showing up in
complete
chat. That's
strangers
very
brought
strange.
Together by the fates,
Maybe we should
living and
troubleshoot that
working
sometime.
together in our own little paradise. And in all that time, not a single sin has been committed. No fights, no theft, nothing. Have you ever witnessed something so extraordinary as a city without sin?
Can't say I have.
Nor did I, until I came here. But the reason for this miracle is as simple as it is terrifying. If even one person commits a sin here, every last one of us will die. You see, the builders of this place, whoever they were, left inscriptions warning, "The many shall suffer for the sins of the one." From what we can gather, breaking the law here will anger
hi,
the
kitty.
gods and provoke a terrible punishment. Like the curses of Medusa and Midas combined, turning us all to gold. We've come to call it the Golden Rule. It's extraordinary.
Well, that seems
we've
pretty
survived
bad.
as long as we have, and each day I grow more and more afraid that our time in the sun is almost up. And now it seems that day is finally here. All that matters is that somebody in this city is about to break the Golden Rule. Why else would Proserpina send you now? Unless you and I can stop them, our doom is assured. I know that's a lot to take in, and you look like you have questions. Please,
I
ask
sure
away.
do. Well, so a couple of things I wanted to touch upon there. So the curses of Medusa and Midas. Well, that certainly explains all of the gold statues everywhere. And it must have happened at least one time before this, because there's sure a lot around. So, Midas, of course, the king who was cursed, blessed with the golden touch. Everything he touched turned to gold, including his food and water and his daughter. And then Medusa being the poor girl cursed by Poseidon to turn into a Gorgon whose very vision would turn men to stone. So, there's some force down here that is watching and turning people to gold. But what the heck is this about Proserpina sending me? Let's ask that.
You see, in my search for a way to save my people, I learned of an ancient ritual to Proserpina, the goddess of the cycle of life and renewal. It's said to open a doorway in time, so that if the unthinkable happens, one person can pass through it and travel back to the past. And when I saw you arrive in a flash of light from the goddess's shrine, I knew that person was you. You don't belong in our time, do you?
Well, that's something, isn't it? I guess we have somebody who knows about the time travel. And a flash of light, so I guess the end of the wormhole was a bit bright. Yes, I am from 1,000 years in the future. Or 2,000, sorry.
Is unfathomable. Please, tell me, in your time, what did you see? What had become of us? Of this city?
I'm not about to lie to you, man.
I have imagined it, our downfall, 1,000 times. But it still breaks my heart to hear the truth of it.
So I'm going to get through this conversation, and I think I'm going to stop then, but let's go through and find out what the deal is here. So what counts as Peccatum?
Intelligent question. There was a good deal of debate about that in our first weeks here. Does it refer to crimes, or to some other ill-defined wrong? Of course, everyone agrees on the basics. No theft, no assault, and certainly no murder. But beyond that, it was more difficult to reach a consensus. What about lying, insulting someone, blasphemy, trespass, trying to escape, bribery, infidelity, suicide? As magistrate, I had
quite a
to
list.
exercise leadership, and so I made a decision. We must uphold the laws of the Empire to a standard never before seen. And we must honor the peace
Strict
of the
legalist.
gods, the sacred accord between the gods and the people of Rome. It is only by offering the gods the proper respect that we may prosper, as Rome has for centuries.
It does not make sense to me as it happens.
Barbaric? Barbaric? What are you talking about? The Empire is the most civilizing force in the known world. Rome is a beacon of light in the darkness. For 800 years she has borne great statesmen, philosophers, poets, artists, and engineers. We have comprehensive
Whatever
laws
you say, colonizer.
protecting the rights of our citizens.
Oh,
which
wait,
have
am I not
unified
supposed to say
countless warring
colonizer?
tribes all across the Mediterranean and beyond, from Gallia to Judea. All our citizens are treated the same, regardless of the color of their skin or their sexual preference. Can you say the same? When our people are starving, they are given
That seems
food
pretty
rations.
pointed for someone who
And
hasn't
when
seen
they are
2,000
wrong,
years in the
they
future.
have the right to bring the guilty party before the magistrate. Our laws forbid treason, murder, assault, and rape, as well as theft and arson, and so on. No other civilization in the world is so advanced, and you have the hubris to
Sure
call
they
us
are.
barbaric?
Yeah,
Of
slaves?
course. What else would we do with those prisoners of war who would otherwise have been executed? And besides, there are laws for their protection as well.
And people killing each other live in front of you?
Gladiators are almost all volunteers seeking glory, or condemned prisoners who would have been executed anyway. I do not see the harm.
Almost all.
Of course, but with fewer rights come fewer responsibilities, and the right to be protected
Separate
by their
but equal, am I
fathers
right,
and
folks? Ooh, Christians. Let's talk about
you
that.
mean the blasphemous cult responsible for burning down half of Rome last year? It's hard to blame the people for being angry about that.
So this does refer to a real fire. Usually this is considered Nero's misdirection from him burning down the whole city, but it's actually kind of unclear. That story that Nero was responsible seems to have started after people were trying to disgrace him. So, did the Christians burn it down? Probably it wasn't either, but, you know. So, let's ask about decimation. That sounds lovely, right?
Practice of decimation? Of course. We could hardly unite all these warring tribes without a disciplined, formidable legion.
Yes, let's unite these barbarian tribes. Colonizer.
Well, right now, you're a long, long way from home. I have made my pronouncement.
True facts.
Unfortunately, there are still those here who resist, whispering blasphemous and treasonous lies in the shadows. I would be keeping a close eye on them if I were you.
Why me?
Well, I believe you're in the best position to go around asking people questions. You're new here, and it will seem perfectly normal. As for me, well, it pains me to say my attempts to impose order have not earned me many friends. I fear I may not even remain magistrate after today's election.
ACAB.
The people here would only treat my curiosity with suspicion. You shouldn't have that problem, though, unless, of course, you get off on the wrong foot.
I like that my default response here seems to be fair enough. So,
Do you ever stare at a problem for so long that you can't see it for what it is anymore? What's needed here is a fresh pair of eyes. The less I prejudice the independence of your investigation, the better.
I could interrogate him, but it does seem a little rude when he's gone through all this trouble. Yeah, speaking of which, what is this trouble exactly?
To Proserpina. I stumbled across instructions. I have to recite a prayer, and of course, as with all rituals, some sacrifice is involved. Usually that means wine or food, or in some cases a live animal. In this case, the sacrifice is rather more costly. The life of the person performing the ritual. I don't suppose you saw any sign of me in the future?
Ah, so this is where our mystery skeleton comes from.
I assume that was me. If I'm forced to perform the ritual, it's going to cost me everything. You'll try to make sure I don't need to use it, won't you?
So, this kind of ritual that he describes with a prayer and a sacrifice that is usually some kind of consumable, that's pretty normal, and they might even have specific outcomes, like he's saying. You get these lists of rituals in, like, Cato and such. But one that requires human sacrifice is usually considered non-Roman. So, this is pretty fantastical.
Well, I suppose that's all I can ask for. If I understand Proserpina's ritual correctly, that problem should take care of itself. Let me see if I can explain.
So, which kind of time loop are we in?
To prevent the sin that breaks the golden rule, I won't need to bring you here. I won't create the portal, and you will never have been able to come here. Thus, you'll have created a paradox. If this occurs, you should be flung back to your own time, having changed the past for all of us. Make sense?
Sure, why not?
Ah, good. So, are you with me? Can I count on you to figure out who's about to break the golden rule?
It doesn't seem like I have much choice, but I don't need to say that.
Now, I need you to investigate the city, talk to everyone, help them, if it'll win their trust. I authorize you to enter private homes and inspect possessions and documents, unless, of course, you're asked to leave. Figure out who the culprit is, and as soon as you have a name, come back and tell me immediately.
Okay. Guess that's the game. Figure this one out.
I'd start my investigation by visiting Lucretia at the Shrine of Apollo in the Forum. I heard wailing from there not long ago. Seems like something's not right.
Well, I'll get right on that, I guess. And that's, I think, where we're going to stop for today. New save, please. So, I hope y'all enjoyed that. If you want to drop me any questions in chat, I'll be here for another couple of minutes, but other than that, I'll see you next weekend. Thanks so much, Benjamin.